Hey guys, good evening. Tonight's topic of Jazz Katat TV is going to be it's not the size that matters, it's how you use it. So, in regards to space design, basically, I've said it, I've been guilty of saying it a lot, and I know probably many of you have often maybe said, I want more space, and only if I had more space I could do this and that. And believe me, I know more. I know how you're feeling. I mean, just for my background, the first place I lived in New York City, it was under 300 square feet. It was a studio, obviously, and I lived there by myself for about 2 years, and then Matt moved in with me. So this is a studio that's under 300 square feet, and both Matt and I were living there for almost 2 years too. I used to joke that, if we could survive that, we could survive anything. So, and then after the 300 square foot studio, we moved into a luxurious 600 square foot spot. So we doubled the square footage, and it was amazing, and I actually really love that space. We just moved from that space here a little over a year ago. And even in that space, before I found this one, I was actually making plans on how I could reconfigure it and renovate it to see how we could make that space work with a growing family. And I was up for the challenge. I thought it would be pretty great. Um, so we now currently live in a apartment that's a little under 1,000 square feet. It's 960 square feet, and it's more than enough space. It may not seem like that much space if you don't live in an urban area or New York City, but for New York City, trust me, that's a lot of space, and I can't complain. I think it's great. But one thing I will say is throughout all the places I've lived, I've learned a lot about how to just make the most out of your space. And I have this thing where you can basically make whatever space you're living in work for you, no matter what the size constraints are. If you're creative enough, you can do it. And so that's what, next time, maybe when you say, oh, if only I had this much space, I could do it, I can't do it, maybe try to think out of the box. But also, the biggest thing when dealing with that is, purging. We mainly have a lot of stuff that we don't need, and I am definitely going to be working on that for this challenge. That's the first thing I will say. I mean, the biggest thing in a small space is, yes, you want to maximize space and try to have as much storage hidden and double uses, but before you even do that, you need to purge your space and just get rid of all the unnecessary items. An example of this in my space is where, I definitely made sure when I made purchases for this space that I was really thoughtful and thinking about this space. One example is the coffee table. I briefly showed it yesterday and showed it to you today. But basically, it's a nice looking coffee table, but better than that, unlike the coffee table I had in my old apartment that didn't have really much function to it except aesthetics, this one opens up into 3 different compartments. As you see, I have my laptop in there, and this one has another laptop. You can also use it as a tray table in a way when you're watching TV, if that is what you'd like. And then, if that wasn't enough, this is also a compartment here. So you see, within this small living room coffee table, it's pretty multifunctional and aesthetically pleasing, and it also has a lot of storage where I can kind of hide my computer when I'm not using it, let's say. And then it also doubles as a dinner tray. So choices like that make a big difference when you're looking at spaces and trying to optimize it as best as possible. That being said, you don't always have to go with the option that seems the most, I guess, space efficient or double multitasking. When I was getting a couch for this new space, I had a lot of, because in my old space, my couch was a sofa bed, because that makes sense, especially if you live in a studio space. But this time around, one, we had 2 bedrooms in this apartment, but then also I kept looking for couches that would have a bed. But in reality, I started thinking, how often does someone actually come to stay at the apartment? And that's the other thing you have to think about when you're going through your stuff, and that's what I have to keep reminding myself. When you come upon something and you say, oh, well, that one time I might need it, that one time if this happens, or the once a year type of thing, you might not need, like, if it's just a one-time thing, if you have a guest coming maybe only once a year or twice a year, you can borrow an aero bed, or we have alternative options. Actually, I found a really good alternative option that I'll show you another time for a bed. So instead of sacrificing kind of aesthetic style and comfort and like buying a more expensive sofa couch in the living room that's only going to be used maybe one time or 2 times out of the year, I actually decided not to do that, and I went with a couch that I actually wanted to get, and it's a lot more comfortable and a lot more expensive. So, I mean, this is the couch that I ended up getting. It's from West Elm, and like it just fit my living room better in how I was trying to design it aesthetically. So, I mean, that's an example also where you don't always have to choose storage or multifunction, and you can choose design over storage in some senses. But basically, small spaces, next time if you're thinking you need more space, I recommend, and what I do all the time is I look around, I see things that I probably don't need that I could get rid of, and then I could also, and then I think creatively. It helps me really feel like, how can I make this space work? And it's more rewarding. Also, there's a lot of pros with a small space, and there's nothing wrong with a big space if you do have a big space. The biggest thing I'll say is with the bigger spaces, you're just going to feel the need to fill it up with more stuff. And what that actually means in my mind is, well, it's a bigger footprint, and it's more to clean. So it just gives you a little less freedom. In a smaller space, what's so great about it, it's less footprint, so that means less cost for just like basic heating and utility bills, and you have less to clean up, and also more likely you have less stuff because you're not constantly buying things to fill up the space because you don't have that much space and you're very conscious of it. So you're making more kind of focused choices in your purchases. And then in that way you'll have, since you have more time because you have less stuff and less to clean, then you can have more time with experiences, and the money that you save from all your utilities and heat bills and whatnot, then you can go on vacations and explore other things. So not that I have nothing against big spaces. I love big spaces too. I just think sometimes the size is not what matters. It's how you kind of use it. And even if you have a big space and you don't use it well, it's not going to be helpful. So I don't know, in my challenge, my space isn't huge, but it's huge to me, and I would like to just work on maximizing every square footage, and I don't mean that by adding storage in every square footage. I want to maximize it through design and putting storage where it fits. But I mean, it's funny, my sister used to joke when I was a kid that I was like the queen of like stuffing everything in the cabinets and then making the outside look aesthetically pleasing, but in reality it was like a big mess. So basically I'm trying to do the opposite of that. I am trying to purge almost everything that is not necessary, and then with what's left over, I'm just gonna make a very like well thought out design. So I hope this helps you too next time that you say you might not have enough space or you wish you had more space. You know, I just feel like no matter what space you give me, it's a great challenge and I will make it work. So yeah. So until next time, right now I'm going to work on starting to kind of declutter the spaces. A lot of people have given me great suggestions on, you know, some people have like the 21 declutter plan I saw, and other people have sent me other things. So if you have a suggestion, you know, feel free to ask me. I'd be more than happy to answer or try it out and see how it works. So in the meantime, I hope you have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye!